Ask anyone to name the worst hyperinflation in history. They'll say Weimar Germany. It's the universal reference point. The mental image of a wheelbarrow full of banknotes just to buy a loaf of bread. It's the symbol of money pushed past the breaking point. But that common knowledge is wrong. The Weimar Republic didn't hold the record. Not even close. Its hyperinflation, as catastrophic as it was, looks like a gentle economic slowdown compared to the true world champion. The single most explosive, complete, and mathematically staggering annihilation of a national currency happened just after World War II, in a place history has largely forgotten. We are about to talk about Hungary in 1946, a monetary apocalypse so severe, its statistics defy comprehension. We're not talking about prices doubling over months. We're talking about them doubling every 15 hours. We're talking about an inflation rate so high it's expressed not in percentages, but in scientific notation, a number with 15 zeros. This is more than a dark historical footnote. This is the ultimate case study. It is the final, terminal stage of the disease that infects every unbacked paper currency. It shows us the precise, horrifying endpoint of the path we are all walking right now. The path of endless printing, of debt monetization, of trusting a promise that can be broken at will. Forget Weimar. To understand the true danger to your wealth, you need to understand what happened in Budapest. Because in its terrifying, exponential spiral lies a warning written in numbers so large, they become a prophecy. You feel it already, don't you? That quiet, persistent anxiety at the checkout line. The number in your bank account stays the same, but what it can do keeps shrinking. We're told this is normal, manageable, just a few percentage points of transitory inflation. But history screams that this feeling is not a glitch. It is the signal. It is the first tremor of the exact same seismic fault that has shattered every paper currency that came before us. The polite decimal point debates of modern finance are just the prelude. They are the calm before a very specific, very documented storm. Hungary in 1946 is not a random, isolated catastrophe. It is the terminal case study. It is the logical, mathematical, and psychological endpoint of the path we are on right now. The path of monetizing debt, of prioritizing printing over production, of valuing promises over tangible assets. We are walking a longer road, but the cliff at the end is the same. To ignore the blueprint because our journey is more comfortable is the greatest danger of all. To understand the scale of the Hungarian hyperinflation, we must set the stage. The year is 1945. World War II has ended. Hungary, aligned with the Axis, lies in ruin. Its infrastructure is rubble. Its economy is shattered. The victors impose crushing reparations, demanded not in stable currency, but in goods, machinery, and raw materials the nation can no longer produce. Facing this impossible burden with an empty treasury, the Hungarian government makes its fatal choice. It turns to its only remaining tool, the printing press. It will fund reparations, reconstruction, and its own survival not with real wealth from taxes or production, but with money created from nothing. This begins as a desperate solution, becomes a dangerous habit, and finally accelerates into a terminal spiral. The statistics that follow are a clinical record of monetary death. The unit was the pengo. In July 1945, the highest banknote was 1,000 pengo. By January 1946, it was 10 million pengo. Panicked, the government performed a psychological trick. It introduced the milpengo, declaring it equal to 1 million pengo. It was an attempt to erase 6 zeros and pretend the problem was reset. It failed immediately. The milpengo itself became worthless within months, a fleeting fiction. Then, the true exponential collapse began. By the peak in July 1946, Hungary achieved the enduring world record, a monthly inflation rate of 41.9 quadrillion %. Quadrillion is a 1 followed by 15 zeros. This abstract number manifested in a brutal, tangible reality. Prices doubled every 15.6 hours. Consider the human consequence. A worker paid at noon would see their wages devalue significantly before dusk. Stores abandoned price tags, quoting instead a time-based multiplier. The bread costs 5 times the morning rate. Money ceased to be a store of value. It became a burning asset, a toxic token you had to discard the instant you received it. Saving was senseless. Planning was impossible. Factories paid wages twice daily, so workers could sprint to the market before their cash evaporated. Society unraveled. As the currency failed its core functions, the economy reverted to primitive barter. A surgeon would operate for a sack of potatoes. A tailor would mend clothes for a tin of fuel. The most iconic symbol of this utter collapse, people used bundles of banknotes as wallpaper and stove kindling. The physical paper held more utility than the astronomical denomination printed upon it. In a final act of surreal desperation, the government issued the largest denomination banknote in history, the 100 quintillion pengo note. That is a 1 with 20 zeros. It was scarcely enough to purchase a single loaf of bread. This note is not currency. It is a tombstone, marking the moment numerical value detached completely from reality. The end was not a decline, but a violent reset. In August 1946, the old pengo was declared void. A new currency, the forint, was introduced at an exchange rate that defies belief. 1 forint equals 400 octillion pengo. A 4 followed by 29 zeros. Every savings account, pension fund, and cash holding was annihilated. The slate was wiped clean by absolute erasure. Yet, here lies the crucial, often missed lesson. The forint succeeded in halting the hyperinflation not because it was backed by gold or a brilliant new doctrine. It succeeded for one singular reason. The government finally stopped the printing presses. It imposed harsh austerity. The new currency was merely a token to facilitate exchange after the root cause, the endless, unchecked creation of money, was forcibly excised. Stability came from ceasing the disease, not from the potency of the cure. This is the profound insight from Hungary 1946. Hyperinflation is not caused by a loss of public confidence. It is caused by the uncontrollable printing of money to fund government obligations. The loss of confidence is the inevitable, final symptom. The Hungarian government did not stop printing because people lost faith. People lost all faith because the government never stopped printing. The causality is absolute and one-directional. Thus, the case study provides the ultimate diagnostic question for any modern monetary system. Is the creation of new currency under strict, enforceable control, or has it become the primary mechanism for funding the state? The answer to that question reveals its entire future trajectory. Hungary 1946 is not a bizarre anomaly. It is the definitive data point at the extreme end of the chart, the bright, flashing warning of the final destination. The lesson of Hungary is terrifyingly clear. It was not a random act of God or a unique cultural failure. It was the direct, mathematical consequence of a single policy, using the printing press as the primary tool of government finance. When a state chooses to fund itself by creating money rather than generating real wealth, it signs a contract with exponential decay. The only variable is time. Now, overlay that blueprint onto our world. The mechanisms are more sophisticated: quantitative easing, perpetual debt rollovers, deficit spending as far as the eye can see, but the core equation is identical. We have simply swapped physical printing presses for digital ledgers at central banks. The principle remains: creating claims to wealth faster than real wealth is produced. The path from where we are to where Hungary was is not a straight line, but it is a proven sequence. It begins with the polite devaluation we call inflation. It progresses to the monetization of debt. Its penultimate stage is the loss of trust in the institutions managing the currency. And its terminal point is the velocity of collapse witnessed in 1946. We are navigating the earlier stages of that same sequence. The warning is not that our collapse will look identical. It is that the fundamental forces driving it are the same. The endgame of fiat money is written in the data from Budapest. To ignore it because our technology is more advanced is to mistake the clock for the time bomb. History, however, is not just a chronicle of disasters. It is also a record of solutions. For every Hungary, there is a counterexample, a society that faced collapse and built something more resilient in its ashes. The key is not to predict the exact date of a crash, but to understand the immutable principles that separate survivors from victims. Those principles are now visible. They are the antithesis of the Hungarian blueprint. They involve anchoring value to something outside the control of any single government. They mean prioritizing assets that cannot be printed over promises that can be broken. They require recognizing that in the final stage of any monetary crisis, the system itself resets. and a new ledger is established. The question is whether you will be holding entries on the old, collapsing ledger or positioned for the new one. This is the purpose of this channel, to be your archivist for these principles. We excavate these lost histories not to spread fear, but to build a map. A map of the minefields, yes, but also a map of the escape routes and the high ground that has endured through every storm. If this perspective makes sense to you, if you see the pattern in the chaos, then your next step is clear. First, engage with this history. Let me know in the comments. What parallels do you see most clearly today? Is it the debt, the money printing, or the erosion of trust? Then, ensure you don't miss the next case study. Subscribe to Lost Ledgers, because next, we analyze the opposite of Hungary, the Byzantine Empire's 800-year stability. How did they maintain a gold currency while every empire around them debased and collapsed? That story holds the other half of the blueprint.